and welcome to Sell Me Fire. My name is Chris Exusion. You can find me at Chris Ebom on Twitter, and it's major week. It's PGA Championship week, Southern Hills. I'm very pumped. This is going to be a great week. It's going to be a tough course, my kind of week. Guys are going to be grinding left and right. And you know me, I'm always looking to rise and fire on a play. I follow a lot of great guys on Twitter, good people, great knowledge. And I got one of my favorite touts I was talking about on Twitter. He's going to be giving out his play. He's going to be rising and firing for me free of charge. I absolutely love it. He is the Sebastian Munoz whisperer. I can't get enough of his work. It is the PGA tout, John Haslbauer. How you doing, man?
Doing well. Good to be back, Chris. How have you been?
Good, man. Just getting back on the video content a little bit. I've been on the other side of the computer typing and everything, trying new stuff and everything. But it's always good to talk with you as always. It's been a little while, but how's everything going for you, man?
It's going well. I have a new backdrop since I last saw you. Got a new home, one building next door to my old home. So I'm staying in Jersey City. Got a nice window now outside. I got some daylight on me. So things are good. It's PGA Championship week, second major of the year. Masters was pretty kind to us. I think I didn't hit Scotty, but I did fairly well on props. So I'm definitely going to be hitting the prop market again this week. I'm really diving into it tonight. So I at this moment have no idea what my props are going to be. But I have been, as always, exhaustively looking through the field, researching and everything. So I hope to say that I have a good handle on what to expect at Southern Hills.
I think so. And if people don't know, you're on thelines.com and you're always giving out your famous, course previews that everyone loves. You've been gaining a lot of steam on the Twitter world and everything else. But I'm coming to you, John. I need a play to rise and fire on. You know me. I'm always looking for a good bet to rise and fire on, whether it's my betting card or someone else has a really good play. And, you got your feet on everything. You got everything under control. You hit that Munoz play last week. That was absolute fire. Now, I need you to sell me on your favorite play. It could be DFS, betting, anything, man. What do you got for me?
Okay, so my favorite bet, sorry, not my favorite bet. It's actually my favorite play. And this is a guy that I was going to put in my player spotlight this week. And he ended up being the same odds as Jordan Spieth before Jordan Spieth had a pretty good Sunday, was in contention. So I pivoted it to Jordan Spieth as a bet. And then I saw some bad weather and it talked me off of this guy. But my very first lean and somebody that I'm going to be very invested in and taking a stance on in DFS because he's going overlooked is Viktor Hovland.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Now a contrarian play, and obviously for a bet that doesn't really make sense to bet a guy who is contrarian. But for DFS, it's exactly what you want. And you look at where he's priced on the board. He's coming in at under 10% ownership, surrounded by guys like Rory and Colin and Cam Smith and Jordan Spieth all around him who are going to be extremely popular. And the narrative this week throughout it has always been short game. And if you don't have a good short game, you are exposed and you are done. I see optimism for Viktor that he can win this with his ball striking and not kill himself around the green, and B, that he can actually gain around the green. So what I found when I was digging into Hovland is he has gained strokes around the green only 10 times in his career, which is not good.
Right.
4 of those times were in majors. And so that's a 40% clip that you're gaining strokes on around the green in majors, which should, in theory, be the most difficult time for you to gain around the green. My theory with that is he might get a little bit lazy with the prep, spend too much time on the TrackMan on a week-to-week field. But once he gets to a major, he knows that it's going to come down to short game. He really focuses and he dials in on the short game and he comes prepared. So that's number one, why I might be a little more optimistic that he's not a complete travesty around the greens. Number two, I think the natural reason why people would be off of Viktor Hovland is if this is super windy, it becomes a scrambling fest. That's what the Arnold Palmer Invitational was on Sunday when he was leading, and you just saw that he was not going to hit these greens in the high winds, and he was not going to scramble for par. What's interesting is he actually gained strokes around the green that tournament. So I think people think of the Arnold Palmer and they think of Victor Hovland and they say he could not scramble at the Arnold Palmer. He was actually doing great before that last round. So I think the takeaway there is just if the weather's not extremely bad, he can sort of get by. And again, be about neutral. And if you get a neutral Victor Hovland around the green, you're going to be in great shape at this event. The
Yeah.
last thing that
Okay, go on.
the last thing that I like about Hovland, he is an Oklahoma guy, so he obviously went to school at Oklahoma State, but he also lives there. So he didn't just like spend his college days there. When he's not playing, he goes back to Oklahoma. So he stays in Stillwater. It's about an hour out of Southern Hills. This isn't like in his backyard, but it's very accessible to him.
Mm-hmm.
When you live in Oklahoma and a major is coming, you're gonna go by it, check it out. There's sources that say he's been there multiple times, so he's been going up to practice. I like that he has a little bit of a familiarity with the complexes, and I think that's what you need. If you're bad short game, but you have some familiarity, you've been here before, you've hit those shots, you know what to expect off the ground. That's going to go a pretty long way. So I think all of those are in Hovland's favor. That all you're asking for is for him to not lose this with his short game, and if he doesn't, that he's going to be in pretty good position. So we've never seen the Southern Hills, in 15 years. We're guessing that short game is the end all be all. It may not be. So I'm happy to take the leverage play on Hovland and DFS under 10% owned. And if he plays like Victor Hovland, who's won, 3 or 4 times internationally over the last year, then you're getting a huge edge on the field.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't going to really play any Hovland at all. I was in that same narrative, the round of green game. But, his ball striking is great. He does drive it far. He hits a lot of fairways. We know his iron play is great. You were talking about the API, how the wind was kind of crazy there. When I was watching him play, he got really unlucky with a lot of his GIRs. He was hitting the greens left and right. They were just rolling off a lot. So he wasn't as bad with like the approach game as it looked on Sunday. It was just pretty much impossible to hit a GIR. I'm kind of worried about that this week because you got to be, it seems like you said, we haven't really seen this course in a really long time. We're kind of comparing it to Augusta. I guess that's like the course everyone's trying to figure out like what goes with for the most part. But if he hits the middle of the green, it's got to stay on, right?
You would hope, as long as they don't lose the greens and roll them too fast, which it sounds like they aren't. Then yeah, I mean he's arguably the best ball striker in this field, and I think ball striking might even be more important here than it would be at Augusta, where it's a little bit more wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is pretty important to. I mean, it's not that it's not open, but it's more important to have the right angles in and hit the right sides of the fairways and be precise within the fairway, which Hovland's very good at. And, you look at the last 24, 36 rounds, he is the best approach player in this field. It's crazy. He's actually surpassed Colin Morikawa. So approach is always important. He's the best approach player in the field. He's going to have a chance. And even the putter has been heating up too. I mean, he's been gaining multiple strokes putting. For the last couple of months, it's been pretty consistent. So it's the only thing that's holding him back is around the green. And in golf, around the green actually doesn't really hold you back that much if you're terrible at it. It's only going to come into play when you're missing greens in regulation. Mm-hmm. So at its worst, you're missing 50% of greens in regulation. If you're Victor Hovland, you're probably going to be slightly above the field in that anyway. So how many times can you go up and down here on a course that you have some familiarity with complexes already is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I mean, the proximities people have talked about, over 200 yards can be important because it's a longer course, but the 150 to 175, he ranks in the top 15 in the last 36 rounds. And with those longer distances, he's in the top 5 in those 36 rounds against the field. So I think you're talking me into some playing with him in the DFS. I think I'm going to have to feed him in some of those lineups. I love Hovland. I'm always a Hovland fan. I just, that around the green game really got stuck in my head. But I think you're refreshing me, reminding me how great Victor Hovland is, because sometimes we overthink it. I mean, I do sometimes with the stats, and I try to not be biased. But we got to remember, Hovland's nasty, and his approach game is fantastic. His putter has gotten better. I mean, I don't have the bent grass greens numbers in front of me, but they're going to be fast. And, I think a lot of people are going to have a hard time putting here. So I think that can level out as well. But hey, John, thanks for being on again. I appreciate it. I know we're down to the home stretch of all the content, media, all that good stuff and everything. But I want to thank you again for coming back on. You can find him at PGA Tout on Twitter. And where else can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at PGA Tout on Twitter, and then thelines.com is where I put my previews and my final betting card up. I also put a DFS values article on Play Picks, which is up right now. So yeah, look out for the final card tomorrow. It is very much in progress right now, but that's what the rest of tonight is for, just locking in those final bets.
I hear you. I'm making my card right now. I got about less than 2 hours so I get on Fox Sports The Gambler and talk about the event. So I'm finishing up my card as well. So I'm in the same boat. Hey man, thanks again. I appreciate it. Let's go win some bets. And hey, I'm playing some Hovland. Let's see if we can get some good leverage out there.